What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Zamboni. I'm a musician and astrologer, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. As always, I thank you so very much for being here and watching this video all the way to the end, sending it to a friend, this kind of thing. Thank you so much for sending me a tip via Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. That is super helpful. If you have $2 to send to me, that helps me to continue to do this thing and to make all of the artwork that I make and this kind of thing. Thank you as well for checking out. So this week we've got some new music, not new music, the music is already out, Spotify, Tidal, Pandora, Apple Music, wherever you like to get your music at. The audio is there already, but there's going to be a video coming out this Wednesday, so keep an eye out for that. It's going to be so much fun. Please check it out. It's going to be fun. You can also get a reading at zambonifunk.com. You can also get an electional report on Patreon to help you decide when to launch things like a video, for example. Do you know what's happening on Wednesday? The moon's really nice that day. Do you know why? If you had the electional report, you would have a lovely timing guide. Thank you so much for being here. Let's talk about the astrology of the week ahead. This week, we've got, this is kind of dramatic this week. This is a very good week for drama and narrative to take place in some kind of way. So here is what I'm looking at. So we've got Venus having moved into Leo, right? And so we've got Venus and Mars in Leo. In the first place, you should go outside and check this drama out on the western horizon at the end of the day. So once the sun has gone down, then you'll be able to see on the western horizon, you'll see Venus there and you'll see Mars there. They're gonna inch closer and closer together. Just watching that drama take place has been super fun. It's been cloudy here for a couple of days, but on the days when it's not cloudy, I'm able to go out there and see it. And it's gorgeous. It's so much fun to look at. It's so interesting. There's so much just drama in watching that. Also, Leo is a sign that is associated with drama and with stage performance and with all of the sort of bigness of a person's character, or something larger than life is a word that comes up a lot of times with Leo, right? And so there's big sort of story that wants to take place there, especially if we see Venus and Mars together. Then we're going to be looking at something that's kind of magnetic or attractive, something that's ooh, it's so bad that it's good, ooh, it hurts so good, this kind of thing, right? There's a heat to that kind of situation that is hot and exciting and attractive and this kind of thing. So there's that wants to be on the stage, and Venus is going to be moving toward this retrograde, right? We've got this long Venus retrograde coming up here in Leo that is going to sort of center whatever's going on in Leo, and this is the beginning of that. So we've got some exposition for this longer sort of character arc that's going on here, right? Then the other thing that we've got going on here that I think is really important when it comes to storytelling and this kind of thing is that Mercury is going to move into Gemini this week. Now, Mercury is at home in domicile in Gemini. Mercury rules Gemini. This means that Mercury is going to be in a place to do the Mercury things mercurially, just like Mercury likes to do it. So Gemini is known for the twins, right? Can go back and forth. There's a kind of a duality to it. There's a kind of shifting point of view that can be really helpful when it's time for the narrative and storytelling stuff to take place. This is a sign that is really good with information, with words, and with sort of saying stuff in a way that is intelligible or that makes sense in some kind of way. Now, this is important because Mercury in Gemini is going to make a square to Saturn in Pisces. So Saturn in Pisces, very good for creativity. I've been saying that for a little while, right? Creativity and artwork and this kind of thing. It's also Saturn, so there's a kind of heaviness to it. There's a kind of authority or rules or laws or something like that, that wants to, it's in this overcoming position with this Mercury, right? So it wants to exert force on that Mercury. And so the way that I've been thinking about this is sort of you know, like Pisces is the big water, right? It's the like deep sea. It's damn near outer space down there. Light doesn't even reach to that area of the world, right? And so there's a kind of dreamy seascape to that space, right? And so whenever I think about that kind of place, it's a place for dreams and intuition and for wild things to take place, sea monsters, all this kind of stuff, right? And so this is really, really good for storytelling, right? If we want to return to this place of narrative or something like that. And then so if Mercury in Gemini wants to make things intelligible or wants to speak to data or something like this in the way that Mercury likes to do, but has this like major Saturn in Pisces influence, sea monsters and all of this kind of stuff, dreamy, intuitive intelligence, this kind of thing, unverified personal gnosis is a really good way to think about this also. Then this is a really good time to sort of lean into alternative facts and this kind of thing, right? This is a situation where you might notice that facts are only as good as the perspective from which they are told, right? And so this is how you get things like, clinical trials that were paid for by the company that wants the thing to come out or something like this. And so there's like data that says the thing that they want it to say and this kind of stuff, right? So we might see some of this kind of like information manipulation going on. We're in this moment in the future where it's like, deep fakes are such a big deal here, and like what even am fact or information or true, like all of these things are suddenly sort of cast into this weird light that is wildly confusing. And like, how do you get good information? What is good information and this kind of thing, right? And so this is a moment where all of that is cast into confusion. Now, if you want to be Saturn or Mercury, that is to say, if you want to be in a management position, or you want to be the person who is like maybe making rules about things or something like this, or maybe you want to be Mercury, maybe you want to be the storyteller, the journalist, the one who is spinning the tale, then there's a good opportunity here to tell your story in such a way that brings this sort of intuitive, imaginative understanding, personal gnosis kind of vibes to whatever data collection is going on here, and vice versa. So these things can inform each other. This is one of these situations where it's like, there might be some data that are outside the wider narrative. And it doesn't make sense that it would be this way, and yet it still is. Astrology is a really good example of this, right? So we sort of start out with this materialist understanding of what's going on in the world, and then it's like, oh, but astrology works. Like so maybe I need to change my entire understanding of the wider narrative about what is happening in the world, because it turns out that astrology is useful at times, or like there's the whole like as above so below thing seems to be working. So if that is working, then what does that mean? Does that discount all of the materialist science that we know about, or is there a way to sort of integrate these two things together, right? So this looks like a moment where there might be like some power struggle around this kind of thing as well, like we can see that Pluto is moving back into Capricorn this week. So we've had Pluto in Aquarius for a couple of months here. That's our very first little dip of Pluto in Aquarius, and the first time in like 200 years or something like this. And so there's a return to the power and the sort of like earth dynamics, the ambition dynamics, like who's going to be running what, right? And this, I think, comes around really nicely to Venus and Mars in Leo as well. Venus and Mars in Leo, there might be like a little Game of Thrones kind of situation going on here. Leo wants to be the king. Leo wants to be the star of the show, right? And then we've got Venus and Mars, who are both warrior deities, right? They're both like ready to go in and kick ass and take names. Now, Venus in the evening time, that's going to be a little more sort of like loving and benevolent and like hug it up. But, let's see what happens when you test that ass. there's a big drama that wants to take place here. I don't have time to talk about all of it. We've got a forecast coming up. I hope you'll tune into that. I hope you'll tune into the music video. I'll check you next